Well, thank you, everyone. My name is Mark, and we're back for another episode of our PACE podcast. Here with me, I have Jesse Watson. It's been a while since we chatted, Jesse. What have you been? Tell everyone a bit about yourself, who you are, and then we'll get kind of introductions. How we've been doing.
Yeah. First, Mark, thanks for having me on. I haven't seen you for a while. I talk to you once in a while through chat and Messenger. You usually send me scream emojis about something I've posted, so I appreciate that. I've, like yourself, I, working like a regular man after the election. I got my properties. I have a cafe. I'm just pushing hard, and I'm doing a little bit of content.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, I'm, maybe too much. What's too much? What's too little? I'm just kind of staying on top of the city. I think you learned probably like I did during the election. There is a desire for accountability.
Yeah.
And when you left, I think you didn't even leave it, right? You still post once in a while
Yep.
about, key topics going on in Edmonton. And I think that there's a desire from people to just be heard and, somehow advocate against the city, city council.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's, I feel like a lot of people feel like their voice isn't being heard by this council, and people really wanted change, but we didn't really get it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. So it's good, and that's kind of the goal of our podcast here, is to kind of just bring attention to certain issues.
Yeah.
And to make sure that those issues are being at least heard and people are informed about what's going on. Because there's I don't know if you noticed during the campaign, there's a lot of things people just had no idea what was going on.
Yeah, like I learned fast that apathy is just so high at the city level, right? Like,
Yep.
I always like to put this in perspective, right? People are like, oh, how did everybody win? And, we did our best, right?
Yep.
And we probably could have done more, who knows? But I look at like, some councillors, 30% of 30%.
Yep.
So when you think about that, that's like 12%, 10% of an entire ward.
Yeah, that's what it takes to win.
And so I think to myself, that's why it's so important that we talk right now
100%.
and we continue this stuff, because we do have people winning with 10%.
Yep.
Representing us. And to be honest, I just don't think they engage. If I'm being real, I mean, have you got a survey? Has there been a town hall?
Yeah,
I'm not sure who your counselor is.
No, so the counselor I actually campaigned against was Michael Jantz.
Okay.
And I don't.
He
He
blocked me a long time ago.
Yeah, well, he blocked me a long time ago too.
But they never block. Sorry, I just want to put that caveat there.
I know. No, and I try not to bash on the guy too hard. And it's, I think some people have called me on that. It's like, don't you have an opinion on him? Yes, I absolutely do have an opinion on him. But one thing I've distinctly heard about him, he's not the greatest at engaging with people who don't share an opinion.
Yeah.
If anything bothered me on the election was that there were 7 debates, and all 7 he didn't attend one.
It's kind of like offensive. I don't know. Like he thought he had it in the bag.
Well, evidently he did.
He did.
But let's be honest, he won, and I'm not questioning that at all in any way. But exactly, it was a little bit of arrogance.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like even a few weeks ago, there's, if you want to, we don't have to talk too much about
No,
infill.
sure, yeah, we're going to move on to other topics.
Infill, is a topic, and it was debated a couple weeks ago.
Absolutely,
and, it was a trending topic when we ran, whether the outcome was what it was or not. Maybe we're all in my little chambers, our own echo chambers,
Yep.
Who knows? But there was a public hearing to discuss this stuff, and not to pick on a counselor, but, hearings are supposed to be like non-biased. They're supposed to be objective.
Yep.
You're supposed to come in with a clear mind and a conscience. In fact, you shouldn't even talk to residents about it outside of the hearing process. But what did he do?
Yep.
He literally had a party, a grilled cheese party the evening before. Now, because I have a big following now, pretty decent, people send me pictures all the time. And guess what? I got a picture from the inside sent right to me of the party. So all the people at the party were the same people at the hearing.
Yeah, he invited them all to the hearing, yeah.
And then they all talk, and then he asked some key questions. And I find that that's really just disingenuous. Like, it's just
disingenuous,
it's just not fair, to the public process. And it just sets up a narrative that I just, it's really disappointing.
Yeah, no, I agree. There's definitely some narratives that he likes to portray. Like, one thing that kind of bothers me with the infill that's happening right now is that the council, unsurprisingly, voted to keep it at 8 for the 8 to 6 debate. But they voted to keep it at 8. And then in like recently, there's a lot of issues going around now about how infills, particular in areas neighborhoods I ran in, Gavia, McKernan, like those kind of areas, they're getting more infill.
Yep.
Again, I'm not surprised, but my heart bleeds for it. And in those areas, you're getting infill, like 8plexes. Like, there's a 32plex in one of those areas. That's technically allowed.
When I hear 32plex, I think of that hexadecadron or some kind of crazy.
It's like, how do you do it? But
that's by the room, basically.
And that's it. They're renting them by the room. And not just that, they're now renting them by the day. And in some cases, by the hour, which I don't want to imply what that means. And this was something that in 2023, Michael Jantz made a motion or promise like, hey, we're going to make this not ever happen. Or okay, he said he would need 2 weeks to make sure it wouldn't happen. Okay, I think you're a little late.
So why do you think that is? Like, why is it? Is it just a media opportunity, or do you think administration blocks him? He didn't have time to put out a motion?
I think genuinely, it's my opinion that council genuinely doesn't want the rooming houses. I don't think that this is something they actually want. But it's an obvious consequence of the policies that they're putting forth.
Yeah.
So they don't really know how to handle it. But to Michael Jantz specifically, I think it is just a media thing. Yeah. Frankly, I do believe he wants to block room houses. Renting by the day or by hour. I'll give credit where credit's due. But I don't know if either he doesn't know how to do it, or he's just really not that motivated to actually do it, but wants to say he's going to do it because it's popular to say. I'm not sure what the exact scenario is, but administration's not blocking that. It's not a case of, they just don't have the tools to block it. It's just either they're inept at doing it or they're just choosing not to.
Yeah, I remember last year too, when in July or June it came up, the rooming houses again, and there was discussion about it, but again, there's no action. So now the zoning bylaw permits it, essentially. I mean, you just get a business license and you rent.
And I'll give, again, credit where it's due. Andrew Knack, the new mayor, has announced recently that they're going to try and tackle this or do a motion again. Okay. And I've met Knack a few times. I believe his heart's in the right place. And he will try. I'll give. But again, this is a conversation that they've said they're going to try and stop this for years. Yeah. And no actual action has been done. So I'm hopeful.
I mean, is it just a one-off? Or do you think it's...
Right.
I did get a message today from somebody in Grosvenor, and they said, hey, I have great news. So I look at my phone, and, I'm like, oh, great, good news. I click it. It's actually bad news.
Yeah, well, yeah.
There's a rooming house coming next door in an 8plex, and apparently another one around the corner by a property management company, and they're going to rent them out Airbnbs, which sounds... I had an Airbnb once. And it's hard to manage an Airbnb. It's tricky, but they do demand higher prices on average, right? They're competing with hotels. By definition, they're not affordable.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like as someone local trying to live in a neighborhood, they are the most expensive option by definition.
100%. So we talked a bit about infill. Obviously, we have some pretty negative opinions on where the city's kind of going with that, but let's kind of shift gears a bit. You were telling me earlier you have a petition you're trying to get signed. So tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, so I don't know if everybody knows, but there's emergency centers and urgent care. Okay. So the difference is essentially an urgent care is meant for day issues. You break your arm, you take your kid, you get it fixed. Cool. Okay, it frees up the bed capacity in theory at like the Royal Alec or Grey Nuns. Okay, Edmonton has 1, Calgary has 5. Okay. Now, I'm not going to say it's because when a government is in a certain city, they tend to be favored. That's just how it tends to be. But Edmonton does have less. So I thought to myself, there's a really cool way you can go about a petition. It's called a legislative petition. Okay. So what happens is you have no threshold of signature. The more, the better. Yep, obviously. And no timeline. Okay. And so I could have one person submit, and then I need to basically go to my an MLA who's not a minister and have them read it out during a legislative session. Okay. And then what happens is the government has to respond. The more signatures you have, the more likely to get a good response. Right. So I had a goal. I wanted to beat David Shepherd, which is the MLA for downtown, about the polling back a notwithstanding clause. He got 399 signatures. I'm at 3,990 signatures.
Wow.
So my petition's actually turned in probably the most legit petition that's ever gone to the assembly.
That's awesome.
I'm going to do it in September. I have it at my shop. I can give you one.
Yeah, absolutely.
You just get 20 people to sign it, and I'll connect back with you.
There you go. And tell us a bit, like, what's the goal of this petition is to get more emergency centers.
Yeah, like essentially one in North Edmonton.
You want one? Okay.
So there is one in
Very
Highlands.
specific.
Kind of north of Yellowhead.
Yep.
So there's one in the Highlands.
Yep.
But there's nothing north of the Yellowhead. And then generally speaking, on the north side, we have no hospital real capacity. Yeah. You got the Royal, but north there's not much, and the population's growing. There's people coming there too, not just south. Okay.
My wife works at a hospital at the Alberta hospital, and it's.
Oh, she drives out there.
Yeah.
Okay.
She drives out there, and there's not a whole lot going.
No.
You're right. There's not a lot we have going on out there.
So
and it's even that out there in the Alberta hospitals is capacity a lot.
They're getting an expansion, aren't they?
Yeah, that's planned in the future. I'll have to ask her about some details when that's coming.
But forced treatment.
Yeah, there's we talk about that in another episode because that's a topic on its own.
Exactly.
But
so the petition essentially just says to establish an urgent care center in northwestern or central Edmonton.
I love it.
So the provincial ridings would be like Northwest or Decore.
Okay.
Those are provincial ridings, which is David Egan and Sharif.
So you think they'd be all on board with it?
I'm surprised none of them have ever pushed one forward. That's what I find really weird. So David Egan was education. Sharif is actually the health critic. Yes, he's a health critic. So I thought it would be interesting that he would put forward his own petition, but never has. Anyway, so here I am. I think it's just cool opportunity to do it, and people are obviously care about healthcare in Alberta and Edmonton.
Absolutely.
So far I'm just garnering those signatures. I've talked to a couple MLAs, people who they're keen to put it to the floor, and it'll go into that little gazette, that thing.
Yep,
and it's there, and then the government responds.
That's awesome.
In the recent budget, apparently they are interested in 2 urgent care centers in Edmonton.
Okay.
So basically with petition, which was mostly localized, generally speaking, north side, it might give us the will to actually get one north.
That's awesome.
Which I'd love to be a part of that.
Yeah, I absolutely. Send me a copy of that. And if anyone wants to get involved, please reach out to Jesse or for I'm sure we'll have a link somewhere in this video somewhere to how to get in touch with him and how to sign that petition. And let's get as many signatures on that as we can. Perfect.
Thanks, man.
Awesome. Yeah, no worries. Thanks. And so that's a bit about what you've been up to, keeping yourself busy.
Yeah.
And we were talking a bit before the show. You had some opinions on what's going on in Chinatown too. You want to tell us a bit about?
Yeah, Chinatown was just in the news. There's some money going there, but I don't know. Have you been there lately? Have you gone downtown?
Yeah, I've driven downtown through there for a few times.
Okay.
Yeah, mostly we actually went down to my wife and I would go down to the Ram all the time, and we drive through Chinatown a lot. And there's a few times like, oh, should we stop by in Chinatown? We're like, yeah, maybe next time.
Yeah, so I went down during Chinatown Dining Week.
Yep.
And I'm not naive to what's going on. Like you go downtown, you see it, right? And I used to work downtown at the city. But then I went to Chinatown Dining Week and I started chatting with some of the local residents there. And when stuff happens in a neighborhood and you advocate for your neighborhood, as a community cultural group, cultures outside of that group tend not to listen. It's like it's like an instinct, okay? And it's no fault of anybody. It's just like, oh, the Chinatown there. Oh, it's Chinatown again. Oh, it's Chinatown. So the group actually reached out to me and they said, hey, would you be willing to talk about Chinatown? And I'm walking around, and first of all, the construction is insane. There's pits, there's open rebar and sidewalks. Renewal's not done.
Yeah,
okay? Fundamentally, it's not done. But the homeless epidemic there, it is beyond imagination. It's bad.
Yeah, and I remember I lived in Vancouver for a bit, and I remember my first experience at East Hastings Street. And we're not there. That's a high bar. Yeah. But I feel I got memories of that.
Yeah. I was in Hastings too once, and I'll never forget that corner and seeing it. Right. It was like the first time as an Albertan, I was like, I'd never seen it.
Yeah. This sort of thing. Does this exist anywhere else in Alberta?
So there's an intersection in Chinatown that I would argue is East Hastings, okay? And I'm not being dramatic, like 80% of it. There's a mega shelter, and one problem in Alberta is we build these mega shelters, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of homeless. And I just, there's like being a good neighbor, But the challenge is, how do you manage, someone appears there with a weapon or someone shows up with something. You say you're not allowed. Next thing you know, they're outside your shelter. People dumping off food, throwing all over it. The garbage is insanity. Like, apparently the city has 17 people just picking up garbage every single day in Chinatown.
Wow.
It's endless, right? And you might go there and you'll be like, hey, I want to help the homeless. I'm going to drop off some food. But the reality is they rummage through it. They can't eat it. It's all over the place. So there's a lot of issues going on. But then it was, I what really bothered me was like the sheer volume of pharmacies and convenience stores. And so like when you're in an area, you're like, okay. And I think in Edmonton, there's like this weird, pharmacies are appearing everywhere. I don't know if you've noticed that.
Yeah.
They're popping up.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a north side problem.
Hey,
You're south side, okay? Things are great down here. But
no, I have a house up there. My wife and I, we live on the north side right now.
Okay.
South side.
Oh.
We're a bit of a weird family. I live on the north side because of Alberta Hospital.
Okay. Oh, I wondered. Okay.
Yeah, and but the south side is home for us.
Gotcha.
So it's
okay.
we're one.
Okay. Well, new respect for you.
So I live in it, but I like to consider south side home. So I'm one of two worlds.
You're an Edmontonian.
I'm an Edmontonian.
Love it.
An Edmontonian.
Love it. So, there's a huge country. There's something
Yep.
like 16, 17 pharmacies within a 3-block radius.
Yep.
But then when you actually go to them, they are behind boarded up windows.
Yep.
And they're operating. And you go inside and the floors are covered. The one had needles, had blood, like garbage everywhere, lineups of homeless people. And you thought to yourself, is it predatory? And you start to go through a cycle of questioning,
Yeah.
right? You're like, well, they have a business. They're providing a need, methadone, safe harm reduction, all these concepts that you hear, right? Then you're like, okay. But then you Google it and you're like, wow, actually some of these pharmacies have been convicted for billing the government too much money. And then there's, so you go into these deep dives. And then the convenience stores, they're selling meth pipes. But under the criminal code, a meth pipe can be sold if it's not called one, right? There's all these little nuances, right?
Yeah, well, that's where there's that old saying, devil in the details,
Yeah.
but it's that saying exists for a reason. The devil is in the details.
Exactly. So like you go to these cities across the world to enjoy an experience,
Mhm.
right? And you might be like, oh, you're in Cafe Row and you're just hitting all these little coffee shops and enjoying your life. This isn't 10 little cute coffee shops. It's 17 pharmacies that are derelict,
Yeah.
giving needles. It's really bizarre.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing that I think of when I think of a Chinatown, right? And I, again, live in Vancouver, and just for context, like, geography of Vancouver, the East Hastings Street, the street we just bashed on extensively, justifiably, is only a block from Chinatown in Vancouver. But the Chinatown, Vancouver, when I was there, was pretty cool.
Yeah.
It it was reflective of Chinese culture. There were actual shops, not just, and now this is, someone in the comments can probably tell me if it's changed in the last 10 years since I've lived there.
Yeah.
But when I think of a Chinatown, I think it should be something that is reflective of the Chinese culture, something that is contributing to the mosaic that is Canada.
Yeah.
And if you really think about it, how many cities in this country have a Chinatown?
Yeah.
And Edmonton is blessed to be one of them. And correct me if I'm wrong, I believe Edmonton is the only one that has a dedicated Chinatown. Does Calgary have one? I don't think Calgary has a Chinatown.
I don't know, actually, off the top. Yeah.
They do? Okay,
Yeah.
we're getting nods that Calgary does. Okay, I'm sorry, Calgary.
Yeah, you're not a Calgarian.
No, I'm not a Calgarian. I'll admit it. My brother-in-law is, and he's probably watching this. He's gonna smack me for not knowing that. Sorry, Calgary. Beautiful city. I love you. But
it is about an identity, right?
Exactly.
And the Chinese community, like I said, they reached out, and so I posted a video, and it was just more observation, right? And it kind of went viral for Edmonton.
Yeah.
Like 200,000 views. Okay.
Which
is pretty big.
That's pretty big.
And I got a lot of comments that were like, we need to help Chinatown. Like good things. It wasn't like, oh, bring it to the ground or whatever, right? It was actually thing. And the comment is like, well, it was a non-Chinese guy talking about Chinatown, which got the attention, which is sad.
Yeah, that is sad that's even a thing, but
it's a reality.
It is. On one hand, any good publicity moving the issue forward, great. But on the other hand, it's like, well, does that have to be the thing that does it?
Exactly.
Sure.
I know. So
I get where you're coming from.
It got some credibility, and then then some stuff came up with the city, and some money was coming, and advocacy around that. So I tried to keep bringing some construction issues around, and then the city, in their typical fashion, and I believe in accountability. That's why I do this
Absolutely.
thing of government, any level should be accountable. They post some data recently that's incorrect about the vibrancy money we're giving Chinatown, which is, by the way, $400,000 for people to essentially eat, which is great.
Yep.
But it's not the root.
You're not addressing the root cause. You're just throwing money at a problem to make it seem like you're doing something.
Exactly. So the media reports huge success in Chinatown, vibrancy booming, 60 new businesses open. But that's actually false. It was 58 licenses were taken away and 30 new. So it's actually net worse.
So he lost.
So the news reported that. The city gave him the number. It's like, guys, because what my worry is, it's the false narratives that happen about, if a community starts doing good and you report it like that, you get less attention. But
you make it seem like the problem's solved.
Exactly.
And then the average person's like, oh, the problem's solved, it's getting better.
Done.
Because they'll say 58 new business licenses, great, but we ended up losing more than we got, but they just don't include how many we lost.
Devil in the details.
Yeah, that reminds me, if anyone watches or knows me well, there's a term that I despise, unless it's being used in a very sarcastic context. Creative accounting. Oh, I hate creative accounting.
You hate the word, or you hate the word?
I hate just being used. I hate being used.
Okay.
When someone is in the finance world, because
so I know how to set you off.
You know how to set me off. It's like, oh, we just use some creative accounting, Mark. Make it look good. It's like, if anyone knows professionally how to make numbers look good artificially, that's me. But I hate it. It's like, no, the numbers are supposed to be reflective so you can make informed decisions. And in this case, the public isn't able to make an informed decision of Chinatown needs help or not.
Yeah.
They're hearing, oh, hey, this is problem solved. But in reality, the problem's actually getting worse.
Yes.
Through a little bit of creative accounting on city council's part, they make it look like the problem's solved.
Exactly. You summarized it so much better than me. Great analogy. No, exactly. And that's, so then there was two other things, and I'll just finalize it. But, one was during the hearing, one of the council members asked administration, oh, have you been talking to the province like we thought about super shelters? Like, essentially, rather than 300, do 3 smaller ones so they're more manageable.
Yep.
Oh, no, that's in the plan to do.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that's a root problem.
Yeah, we're risking getting into conversations about the relationship between the city and the province, which I have some strong opinions on. I might have to have you on for another full episode on the relationship the city has with the province. But
well, clearly they haven't talked in this case.
Clearly it's not a positive one.
Right. And then the second thing is there's a word called clustering. So when cannabis came out, the city actually did a zoning restriction where you couldn't put cannabis on every corner.
Yep.
There was like a lottery, but yet they have no clustering for this type of concept. And Alberta Ave's going through the same thing. And so they was asked the question, are you looking into it? And Admin's like, no. So it's like they're giving money to have food, but they're not actually dealing with anything
the root problem,
which is getting worse and worse.
Yeah. And well, I think that's a good place for us to kind of end for now. But thank you, Jesse.
Yeah,
it's always awesome, and hopefully we'll have you on again in the future.
Absolutely.
And but yeah, any kind of last comments you kind of have before we?
Yeah, follow me, Jesse for Yeg on Instagram. Anytime, reach out. I have an anonymous email. You can even send me your tips and tricks, even if you're a city employee.
There you go.
Happy to take the information. We got to hold our government accountable.
Perfect. Yeah, let's do it, and we'll include links to that in the videos, and we'll make it happen. Thank you so much, Jesse.
See you, Mark.
Always great to have you.
Bye.
Bye. Principled, accountable,